2 hours ago, Kyle arrived at the bar.
Hey, what's everyone drinking?
30 minutes ago, Kyle got his friends another round of drinks.
Cheers!
5 minutes ago, Kyle decided to drive home drunk. A minute ago, a law enforcement officer pulled up behind Kyle.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
A chain of events that began 2 hours ago is about to change Kyle's whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy Holiday.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I'm Jacob Milham, joined today by the illustrious Jeremy Greco and our special guest of TJStats. You might know him from social media or if you use his tools on the interwebs, Thomas Nestico. Thomas, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome, Jacob. I'm excited to talk some baseball with you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. Jeremy, do you are you ready to pepper Thomas with your questions about Isaac Collins?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm honestly, I'm maybe a little bit more curious about Mears because I feel like I understand Collins, but Mears is kind of a weird case when I looked at him yesterday.
All right. Well, we have plenty of stuff on the Royals front to talk about today. A lot has gone down since our last episode. But before we get too deep into it, if you have no clue what we're talking about with the trades, or for some reason you haven't heard of the Maikel Garcia extension or anything like that, make sure you go check out royalsreview.com. You could also check out the site every single morning for the rumblings, a roundup of all the Royals-related things that are going on around the internet, and also just some good old-fashioned fun down in the comments. So go check out royalsreview.com. All right, so I feel like we got to start off with the trade with Milwaukee. Thomas, there's a few other things I want to bend your ear about later on in the episode, but this is even more so than the Maikel Garcia extension because we knew Maikel Garcia was going to be on the team in 2026 and hopefully beyond. Finally, they pulled the trigger on extending him, but this trade kind of came out of left field, I feel like, sending Angel Zerpa to the Milwaukee Brewers and their left fielder, Isaac Collins, down to Kansas City, along with right-handed reliever Nick Mears. Thomas, I like for you to go first here. What do you make? Do you make heads or tails of this trade?
When I first saw it, I was pretty confused of why Milwaukee would do it. I guess they are pretty high on Angel Zerpa. I had an inkling like about last year, 2024, that he could maybe be a starter, looking at his pitch mix and whatnot. A heavy sinker baller guy, but I just didn't really see it. He didn't perform too well in 2025. You see more like your average lefty reliever. Kind of struggled against in high leverage as well. I was pretty shocked that they were able to land both Collins and Mears for him. I'm not sure what the Brewers' plan is. Yesterday, I was hearing that they were going to use him in the bullpen. Now they're going to maybe test him out as a starter on the Brewers, and they have, I'd already say, 7 better starters to kind of choose from there. I don't think Zerpa is going to be used in the rotation. If they are going to transition a reliever to a starter, I would think it's Aaron Ashby. That's kind of the one guy who used to be a starter. They also have Logan Henderson and then Robert Gasser, who came back from Tommy John surgery, but he missed most of the season recovering from injury. But I'm not sure what that is. I know Royals fans are pretty familiar with Zerpa. I don't think they had too much of attachment to him. But yeah, I think it was a pretty solid trade for the Royals. They get a left fielder that graded up pretty well defensively last year and had 122 WRC plus. So a well above average bat. I don't expect that to stick. Projections paint him more as kind of an average batter, which again, I think Royals fans are pretty happy about. Their outfield is not very set in stone. Again, Lane Thomas just signed. Jack Caglianone maybe could be a staple in their lineup next year. But again, I think going into the year with how poorly Caglianone played last year and then having basically no other options out there, grabbing Collins is definitely a smart decision. I don't think it costs too much. And then Nick Mears, is a fun name. I had him as kind of a breakout pick last year. And relievers, he did all right. He had a whip. I think it was sub 1 whip,
Mhm.
about mid threes ERA and FIP. Which you got to know about him. He has kind of a nice high riding fastball and a bullet slider and then a kind of big looping curveball. He did really well in Colorado. It's kind of funny, a pitcher in Colorado didn't do too well. Then the Brewers were able to snag him from Colorado before the deadline in 2024. And since then, he's been okay. His strikeout rate has dipped, but again, I think he is on kind of the same playing field as Zerpa in terms of kind of production. Again, he's a righty versus a lefty. But I think just adding Collins kind of was a kind of like cherry on top for the Royals, something they desperately needed. And again, it makes their major league team better. And I don't think losing Zerpa, they're going to hurt too much with that.
The first thing I thought when you said Royals fans were familiar with Zerpa was I think a lot of Royal fans are over familiar with Serpa. They feel like they've seen too much of him the last couple of years. He keeps being, like you said, he's not been great in high leverage, and he kept being used in high leverage because they didn't have a better left-hander to use in high leverage. And outside Estevez and Urseg, they didn't have a better guy to use in high leverage, period. So, somebody's got to pitch the 7th inning. Somebody's got to get you out of jams in the 6th. And it was often Schreiber and Serpa, and the fans are pretty tired of Schreiber too. I think that those two guys, specifically Serpa, are a little underrated by Royals fans because I still think Royals fans are still holding on to HDH from the mid-teens. And then they look at a guy and they go, well, he doesn't have a sub 1 ERA. He's not worth having around. And that's just excessive. But at the same time, when you can get a guy who I think is a starting quality outfielder, I know Dan Zimborski in his Fangraphs Zips preview of the Brewers tagged Collins as a starting quality outfielder, a guy who's going to be worth maybe 1.5 to 2 WAR next year. That's, you get him for a reliever that isn't one of your best relievers. He's the 3rd or 4th best maybe. And that depends on, if Lang bounces back, MacArthur, etc. That feels like a really good deal. I don't know if either of you saw Annie Rogers of Royals MLB.com beat put out an interview she had with Piccolo about the trade. And basically what he had to say was that what my takeaway for that was that Collins means that the Royals no longer have to go get an outfielder. I think everyone who looked at the Royals said they have to add 2 outfielders. Now they've added Lane Thomas, they've added Isaac Collins. They don't have to get another outfielder, but they still want to. And I think that's interesting, is that from the only way this trade makes sense is if the Brewers said, well, Isaac Collins is a 4th outfielder. We don't think Mears has much left. We think we can get something out of Angel Serpa. We've got a bunch of 4th outfielders. So if that's the one they like, fine, they can have him.
Yeah.
And so if the Royals look at him and say, yeah, we also think he's a 4th outfielder, but he's a better 4th outfielder than all of our starters from last year. So we'll put him in left field. This feels like a negotiating tactic a little bit against maybe the Boston Red Sox or the Cardinals to be like, yeah, we want your guy, but we don't have to give you Cole Reagans anymore. We can compete with Isaac Collins. So this is an exciting deal for the Royals. Like you said, they filled a need that they absolutely had to fill, and they didn't really create a hole. One of the big concerns for a lot of Royals fans who are following the team are everyone says, oh, they got starting pitching to depth to trade from. And I really questioned whether they actually did, or if they just had enough starting pitching depth that they didn't need to add anyone for this upcoming season. So to not lose any of that depth, but add a guy who really does improve the outfield picture in Kansas City, even as he wouldn't really improve it that much in Milwaukee, is a huge win.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is, we talk about the Royals don't need to add an outfielder, like it's not an absolute must right now. I think that now that connotation has been passed on to, they need to add a southpaw, they need to add a left-handed relief option, because only one left now is Daniel Lynch the 4th, and there's not another guy waiting in the wings.
Oh, there's Bailey Falter. Don't forget Bailey Falter, Jacob.
I think he is well beyond the wings. I don't even know what he is. I think he's the prey that the bird with the wings has plucked from the pond. It is. I think this is a great trade. This is one of those trades that kind of feels so good. You're wondering what's the catch? Like what do the Brewers are one of those organizations that if they want to trade for your guy, I would go, what do you see in him that I don't see in him? What are we missing here as an org? Right now, I really like it. Controllable players for Angel Zerpa. Best of luck to him up in Milwaukee. He was the starter once upon a time. Maybe the Brewers think that they can stretch him back out. I don't know why they would try to. Like you said, Thomas, they already got a pretty loaded rotation up there, but we'll see what they do, and only time will tell.
I want to throw out there that you talk about time will tell. I think this trade, even now, even if you go 2 years in the future and you say, oh man, Isaac Collins turned out to be absolutely, a one year wonder, and Nick Mears didn't really have anything left. Well, the Royals weren't getting anything out of Zerpa either, and relievers are so volatile that even if he goes over there and he turns into Josh Hader or something, it's like, well, he wasn't going to do that in Kansas City. He had years to do that, and he never did. And I just don't see him improving in Kansas City. So if he improves in Milwaukee, that's just the way it is. The change of scenery worked for him.
Yeah.
And the process of this trade is so good that even if it doesn't work, you just go, well, things don't always work. The process was everything you could have hoped it would be. It's like when Jack Caglianone hits a 116-mile-an-hour liner into the gap that Victor Scott robs. Well, he didn't do anything wrong. It just didn't work that time.
Yeah. Thomas, anything to add on this trade or the players involved?
Yeah, I guess one thing that I found kind of amusing was Brewers fans loved Collins throughout the season. Like he finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. Even whenever I would post like my award rankings or like my whatever throughout the year, like Collins was pretty squarely in the top 5 in the NL, and Brewers fans seem to agree with it. They're like, yeah, he's having a good year. I'm glad you're kind of highlighting him. But it seemed like yesterday the whole narrative turned on him. It was kind of funny to see how they were like, we don't need him anymore. It's okay. We have Zerpa. And then I don't find Zerpa too exciting. And I guess it's fun to see a new arm in your team and whatnot, just a trade going down. I found it just funny how Brewers fans kind of flip the script like that. I think again, yeah, as you were mentioning, the Brewers just maybe didn't need Collins. Again, I think he's a pretty viable 4th outfielder. They have a lot of kind of 4th outfield types, Garrett Mitchell, like Blake Perkins. The thing is, my argument, I guess, of why I thought the trade was flexing was that Collins is the only one that's actually performed in the majors. I know it's just 1 year. Garrett Mitchell had a pretty strong 2024, but he's been hurt for quite a while. Missed a lot of time. Is a great defender. But Collins, again, he performed better than all those other options they have out there. And at least according to Fangraphs or Roster Resource, they have Jake Bauers as their projected left fielder this year. And some guy tried telling me that we have Jake Bauers, we don't need Collins. I'm like, I think Jake Bauers has the power. I'm just not sure. I don't think that's a really a good backup plan. I think the Brewers kind of had the surplus there. Collins felt, I guess, kind of selling high on him, but I do think he is probably the best option they had.
Yeah.
But again, you got to give to get. And from what I'm hearing, the Brewers, their front office there, they really like Zerpa. Maybe they can untap something with him. Again, I think he's just a sinker baller that he doesn't have exciting strikeout stuff either. We'll see. We'll see how he performs in Milwaukee. I guess right now the Royals may need to kind of address losing a left-handed reliever. I don't think Bailey Falter is going to be that guy. And yeah, they don't have many prospects in general. Kind of the depth is kind of low, especially on the relief end of things, especially for lefties. I don't see they got to go out and find some other left-handed reliever. And again, they're expendable. Lefty relievers are definitely harder to find than the righties. Good ones, but I think they'll find somebody. There's options.
One thing I think is really interesting about this trade is chase rates. If you look at the chase rates, they're both elite for Mears and for Collins in opposite directions, right? Mears gets a ton of chase. Collins almost never chases. I should have, before I started talking, I should have looked up Zerpa, but I think if
He's
I
at
recall correctly,
27% Zerpa.
yeah, he doesn't get a lot of chase. So the Royals gave up a guy who didn't get chase, got a guy who does get chase, didn't perform as well as you'd think from someone who would get chase. Also, a sub-1 whip, you'd think the ERA would be better than that too. Didn't get a lot of strikeouts, but performed. And then you've got Collins again, who doesn't chase, and the Lane Thomas signing, he doesn't chase. The Royals seem to have this offseason a specific thing that they're looking for in their hitters and their pitchers. Also, signing Alex Lang gets a lot of chase. Retaining Jonathan India doesn't chase. Extending Maikel Garcia doesn't chase. It's just a real theme with the Royals offseason this year that I dig it. I like it a lot, especially as a guy who, we all love Salvi around here. Chase is a thing he does. Bobby Witt Jr., for all his amazing abilities, chase is a thing he does. So to see the team be like, yeah, we want guys without chase on the hitting side and with chase on the pitching side, I like it. I dig it.
All right.
Yeah, I guess one more point. People are saying like how effective the Brewers pitching development is. I do think it is one of the stronger in the league, but then you look at Nick Mears and be like, why didn't he perform as well? Again, I think it's people are maybe overstating how effective kind of the Brewers pitching lab is. I do think they are strong. It's just some pitchers just perform better than others or kind of fit into the team culture as much. I think Mears has kind of that potential. I think he has better stuff than Zerpa. As you're mentioning, it has a lot of chase as well. It wasn't walked too many guys last year. He kind of got hurt with kind of hard contact. But Zerpa was kind of similar, other than his sinker, which again you expect to induce a lot of ground balls and more weak contact. Zerpa was kind of getting hit hard with his other pitches, again, his slider and his fastball. There's one thing Zerpa, I think he needs to change his slider a bit. I don't know what he has to do. The Brewers figure that out.
Yeah.
But again, didn't get any whiffs. It wasn't chasing much. Again, I think this was a clear win for the Royals. It's hard to question the Brewers, especially given kind of their success with trades recently. But I think this was kind of a slam dunk win for the Royals. They get exactly what they need, and I don't think they gave up too much, at least from what they could have got out from Zerpa.
Yeah, precisely.
One of the fun stories during the season is going to be, because the Royals are developing a reputation as kind of pitching gurus as well, certainly in Kansas City. So it'll be fun to see which team can fix the other team's broken reliever better. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
Well, and this is I'm with you, Thomas, on the whole Brewers pitching lab. It feels like some folks are looking at it as if, it's when everyone was reacting a few years ago, like, oh, our guy went to Driveline this offseason. He's gonna have a career year. He's gonna do amazing. Like, there was that expectation of folks that were doing that, and there is kind of a similar expectation for any pitcher that the Brewers acquire, and they don't have 100% hit rate. Like they
Cortez.
That is an example, yes. So,
all right, everyone, let's talk about drinking and driving, a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI because legal fees, time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Drinking and driving is a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI because legal fees and time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that'll change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Well, we'll see what they do with Zerpa up there in Milwaukee. But I do want to move on to another major piece of news, which I want to clarify. I didn't realize this till I was refreshing myself on the details. The Royals have not confirmed that they have extended Maikel Garcia to that 5-year
Andy
deal.
Rogers has reported it though, so
Yeah, I would believe it if Andy Rogers has all these details talking about how Garcia's deal is guaranteed $57.5 million over 5 years. And between the club option for that 6th year and some escalators, it could get all the way up to $85 million. This is a good extension from the Royals, well deserved after the season that Maikel Garcia had. Jeremy, I'd like you to start for us. What did you think about this deal?
So the first thing I thought was, okay, so they got themselves 2 years of free agency if they wanted. They only guaranteed one of those years. So that club option at the end is huge. The same way that the player option is very valuable for players, the club option is very valuable for teams. It gives you security without taking on risk. The other thing was 6 years, 85 million, like we said, is where that deal maxes out. And if it maxes out there, I think I did the math, it's like 14 million a year. And if it maxes out at 14 million-ish a year, the Royals have gotten everything they wanted out of that deal. It will have been a massive coup for them. Maikel Garcia is still young. I think he's going to be 26 next year. So this only takes him still into his early 30s. And the Royals, I mean, he's entering the prime of his career. The Royals doing this deal now, he kind of broke out. I think he could have even another level of a breakout. And if they've done this deal and he has another level of a breakout, they're going to look really smart. They're going to save a ton of money off that.
That they will. But Thomas, what do you think? Do you think Garcia's 2025 season can hold up?
Yeah. And with Garcia, it was kind of funny because in 2024, that was the year everyone was saying this is going to be the breakout year for him. He's hard hit rates over 50%. The defense is strong, but then it was bad. Like it's like I can't really sugarcoat it. It was a 71 WRC plus. The defense kind of took a dip as well. I kind of got off the train. I'm like, okay, like the hard hit rate's still up there, but it looks like he's going to be just like a defense first bat, and like he's not going to produce too much. And boy, was I wrong. He kind of flipped the script in 2025. He posted over 5 WAR, 5 FWAR, 121 WRC plus. Everything went well. The quality of contact was great. Strikeout rate went down 4%. Basically, his walk rate kind of absorbed that. Again, he has really good bat to ball skills. He improved his plate discipline. All the production last year was in line with his expected metrics. I would expect maybe a little dip in offense next year just because I still think he has kind of a ground ball issue. Not as bad as it was before, but again, those can kind of spring back up.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really, really good extension. As you mentioned, if they're able to get that 85, I think the max out of that deal, if he ever hits that, that means he's produced like significant surplus value for them. They're able to get him for essentially his entire prime, I think through his age 31 season. This is a huge win for the Royals. I don't think he's going to kind of drop at all. I think he's like a pretty safe 4-win player given his defensive versatility, his plate discipline skills, his bat to ball skills, and kind of put everything together. But I think the other last year, again, sort of lifting the ball more, hitting the ball again, maintaining that hard hit rate, barreling the ball up more. Everything just screamed like a total breakout from him, and it doesn't seem like it's going to really fade. I think this, again, I don't think they could have made a better kind of decision this offseason. Extending Garcia, getting those 2 free agent years is very, very important. And it kind of solidifies the team now. You have Witt and Garcia on the left side of your infield for quite a while now, and they have a lot. They can play around with that, and they kind of cement themselves at the top of that lineup and definitely strengthen them for at least the next 5 years.
Yeah, both these guys having just great seasons in their age 25 seasons. This is Jeremy. I'm going to posit this, and I can't say that I could take credit for this, but I thought that this was an interesting comparison. I saw someone say that this deal puts Maikel Garcia on track to be this era's Alex Gordon, a prime like heart sort of player, run prevention, always gonna be hovering around that 3 to 4 win mark around in his in the contract. The name can be a little shocking. Alex Gordon is of course on the Hall of Fame ballot this year, and it's like I don't know if it's a 1-for-1 comparison, but I can see where someone would have that sort of train of thought, if you will. What do you think about that, Jeremy? How's that make you feel?
That's an interesting thought process. I think that it will be interesting. You threw this at me. I was not prepared for this.
And I was not. I wanted to get your genuine reaction.
Kind of doubt that Maikel Garcia is going to be seen the way that Alex Gordon was seen, which is not to say that Maikel Garcia won't perform in the same degree and kind of some of the same ways, more speed, less power than Gordon. Obviously, the defense still there, but maybe he develops more power as he ages. That happens a lot, and the speed goes down. But the reason I don't think he's going to be perceived that way is because I've noticed Royals fans already question Maikel Garcia's work ethic. They questioned that a lot in 24, and I don't think they're right to. So I think that he maybe should be in line to be perceived that way, but I question whether he will be. And it'll be a shame if he isn't. When I think of Maikel Garcia, I think more his cousin Alcides Escobar,
That's
or maybe
fair.
Lorenzo Cain, which were beloved Royals, but not Alex Gordon longevity. I also wonder if Maikel Garcia is going to spend his entire career in Kansas City. If he spends his entire career in Kansas City, if he signs another extension as we're getting close to the end of this, or he doesn't go for, and it would have to be a reasonable extension. I don't think they're not going to probably give him the Alex Gordon money for, Alex Gordon. You also have to remember Alex Gordon, his brother was named Brett after George Brett. He grew up in the Midwest. So there's elements of stuff there that I think can work against that. But I also think he could end up being a better player than Alex Gordon in the end. I think people remember Alex Gordon as better than he was. Like I know I do. When I go back and I look at his numbers, I go, those numbers are not like, I thought he was, top 10 MVP guy some years. And he was a couple years, but not nearly as often as I remembered. And of course, those last 4 years were bad.
They were.
So if Maikel Garcia, the perception is such a weird thing. So that's the other thing that gave me a little bit of difficulty is like, how will because when Garcia was playing better last year, there was a lot less talk of, oh, he's not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
Which is always one of those weird things. Oh, he's not playing well. He must not be trying hard enough. That's the only thing that makes sense. It's not that, he had some bad luck or he's hurt or, maybe he's just not that good. Obviously that wasn't the case for Garcia. It's always, he's not trying hard enough.
Right. Thomas, anything to add on Maikel specifically before we move on?
I think, again, just is a great extension. I think Royals fans should be really excited for the next few years of Garcia and Witt on the left side of that infield there.
All right. Yeah, we are definitely very, very excited. I think that now a lot more people are going to feel comfortable buying that Maikel Garcia jersey from the team store. This is still a franchise that you expected them to extend Bobby Witt Jr. after the start to the career that he had, right? But proving that they will invest in a player like Maikel Garcia, not the unquestioned superstar of the player, but a very valuable player. And I think that goes a long way. Now we'll see what happens in 2026. They're still looking to fill out this lineup a little bit. And I think Maikel Garcia, rightfully so, is going to be a big part of it for years to come.
One quick note I want to make that Thomas reminded me of when he said locking down that left side of the infield. One take I kept seeing from people, from Brewers fans about Angel Serpa was, oh, well, he's a sinker baller guy and pitching in front of that Brewers infield defense, that's going to be really good. I'm like, what? What defense did you think the Royals had? Two Gold Glovers on the left side. I think their infield defense was okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Thomas, while we're shifting notes here, I want to put you on the spot. We obviously know what you do at TJStats, like with the forward facing stuff. Can you explain to our listeners what you do over there at the site with all your different tools?
Yeah. If you guys don't know me, I'm better known as TJStats. I'm most active on Twitter. I share kind of analysis and insight there, but I launched my website, tjstats.ca. I am Canadian from Toronto a few months ago. I think it was about 2 months coming up this week.
Congratulations.
So I'm very excited that the traffic has been pretty prevalent. I'm very happy with kind of how it turned out. It looks really nice. I'm able to kind of host all my apps on one website, all my articles. So kind of touching more on those apps there. I create kind of baseball graphics with Shiny apps. Basically, everything I share on Twitter, on those graphics there are available on my website. Since the launch of my site, I've made them free for anyone to access and use. I might keep that going throughout the off season just so people play around with it. But typically, my subscribers through my Patreon gain access throughout the year. You get my pitching summaries, generate that for any pitcher at any level that has StatCast data. So that includes Florida State League and Single A, and then all AAA players, some college games if they're played in major league parks. Another popular one I have is my minor league StatCast summaries, similar to what you see on Baseball Savant. I know Prospect Savant kind of has popped up in the recent year. They do very similar kind of breakdown and kind of presentation. I have some heat maps and just more general, again, minor league stuff, making data more accessible. That was my goal when I started TJ Stats. And I think I'm kind of on that, I'm maintaining that. I got a lot of good feedback from people, again, in the industry. They see my work. They want to know how I created, how I set everything up. And again, I'm happy to kind of share. It's kind of, I grew this over the past 3-4 years, and I'm very excited to kind of where it's turned out. My following has just continued to grow, and it's always awesome, again, to meet new people in the space. And again, on a podcast like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love messing around with your apps and such. I was learning how to do that this past couple of weeks in school. And like, I was over here making very basic things and just thinking about like, man, I don't know how to build what TJ does over there at the site, because it's a lot more intricate than what I can think of. But it's very valuable. Go check it out. The link is down in the podcast description below. Jeremy, you had something you were going to say. Sorry.
Yeah, I just I discovered your website through a Royals blog. I'm trying to remember the Royals Data Dugout linked to your website earlier this year, and you had an article on your Substack explaining the pitching graphic that you've created with your app. And man, I fell immediately in love with that graphic. Anytime I think about a pitcher, I go and look him up on there. I feel like I get so much great information in such a digestible way. Like a lot of that information you can find elsewhere, but it's not all in one place, and it's not as easy to read as in those graphics that your apps create. So I just want to, you doing some great stuff over there, and I love using your apps, especially for pitching, to just really feel like, because I feel like pitching is something I grasp a lot better after reading your site. And I love you pick such great stats to focus on with like the stuff and the chase rate and the strike rate. It's just really good. I don't know. I'm babbling because my words are failing me in talking about how amazing this app is that you've created.
Yeah.
Thanks for the kind words there. Yeah, my whole goal with creating my website was just to centralize everything, all my articles, all my apps. And then again, I still have my Substack. That's going to be mostly for kind of more general thoughts. Like trade, like last week, I shared something about like the Sonny Gray trade. I think I also shared a little bit about like Dylan C signing and whatnot. Just more thoughts that I feel like aren't too like, I think my more articles are more formal. I feel like they kind of have a different vibe than just me like spewing out my thoughts about a certain kind of the happenings going around in baseball. But yeah, I have an article both available on my Substack and my website that goes over exactly what I'm kind of presenting in one of my graphics. I guess the pitching summary is more popular, my most popular one. I have the idea to kind of do kind of a screen recording and upload to YouTube about all my apps, kind of explaining how to use them and what to kind of explain there. I haven't got into that yet, but I do think that would definitely be helpful for other people to kind of
It
use it
definitely would.
and play around with it. And I encourage you to check it out. I
It's
am having some issues. I think I might be getting overloaded with traffic. I'm not sure. My
yeah.
website sometimes crashes. I have to look into that. But again, go ahead. If there's any issues, you can just shoot me a DM or whatnot. I respond typically to most people pretty quickly as well. But yeah, I thank you for the kind words about my site, and I'm glad you get a lot of use out of it.
So many people put these tools out there and they don't explain how to use them or what you could take from them, and so you just kinda have to figure that out for yourself, and a lot of people you can do that, and a lot of people who are that interested in stats can, can figure that out, but it just was to your goal of making things more accessible is so obvious in that you put out that article that was like, "Here's how you use it. Here's what you're getting from it." And like I said, I learned not just how to use the app and what it was good for, but some stuff about pitching that helped me understand like, "Oh, this is a thing that I look at that I know to check for now," or this maybe doesn't matter as much, just knowledge about how to evaluate pitching I gained from that makes me really excited as an alleged baseball analyst.
And
Alleged, he says.
if people are more interested in how I create them, I also share some code. I have my GitHub as well that I do link
I
in
gotta
some
check
articles.
that
I think
out.
in the pitching summary one, that article kind of how to use it. I do link the code to that. But it's not the exact same code because I have again my TJ Stuff Plus model and other stuff working in the background. But more general one, I think it helps people again more of the layout and how to get the data from MLB just in kind of different paths as well. I also have my own scraper, which I use. Again, that powers basically all my apps. So that's why I can get live game
That's what
data
I
if I
need.
want to know what happens. Opening day, I can do that immediately. I don't have to wait for Baseball Savant to upload all the data the next day. I can scrape it from there and you can use it. I've had, again, a lot of people ask me about it, update it as well. There's some issues I've seen and I've the adjustments there. But again, I just have a blast creating this stuff. And it's always awesome to see again people like you other people in the sphere. And again, anyone that just finds interest in baseball and I gain value from using my work.
Excellent, excellent. Moving on to the next topic is I wanted you to talk about the site a little bit because this is something that is on your site that folks can go check out. Is you have a top 100 prospect list out. I don't have you done one of these before? This is the first one that I recall seeing from you, but I don't see everything on social media.
I've had, like, I guess the first instance I kind of put one out. I did a top 50 pitching prospect. That was my first kind of foyer into
Gotcha.
ranking prospects. That was last year around this time. But around the trade deadline, this year, 2025, I put out a top 100 prospect list. I saw other people doing it. I can do that too. Why not?
Might as well. Might as well.
I'm interested in prospects. Throw it out there, see what other people think, write it out. And it was a lot of work, but I do like how it kind of turned out. I created a kind of an app, kind of more of an interactive table so people can
Yeah.
play around with it, see all the scouting grades, some stats, and again, the reports on that. So again, that's something I really like how that turned out. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it as
Good.
well. And again, it's just, again, putting out my ideas, like, why not? And it seems like people like it, so I'll keep doing it.
Other folks can do it. Why not me? Specifically on that list, though, you have a Royals player who shot up rankings all over the place. Carter Jensen coming in as a top 10 prospect on your list, and with being so number centric, I just wanted to hear your thoughts. Like, why are you so bullish on Carter Jensen?
Carter Jensen, I love this guy. I was thinking of putting him higher. I couldn't do it. Again, you have like Nolan McLean, Kevin McGonigal, Connor. There's
Yes.
so many exciting prospects right now. Carter Jensen, he's not a flawless prospect. Again, his bat to ball skills, there's some concern there, and also kind of the defense. You're kind of wondering if he's going to play catcher, play first base. In my opinion, I think he should be the opening day catcher for the Royals next year. I think Salvi and Vinny can again operate at first base, DH. I could see also Jensen covering first. Like kind of a rotation there, but I think Jensen is a better catcher than Salvi. Again, he's very athletic. What was interesting is the start of the year in Double A, Jensen didn't really stand out too much. He had improved his contact rate, like his strikeout rates were down, but again, there was not much power. It was kind of the status quo what he did in 2024. But when he reached AAA, kind of just everything changed. He started to sell out a lot for power. He had a 62% hard hit rate, 107, 90th percentile exit velocity. These are like top metrics in MLB. So these guys, he just gets to AAA and his power just starts to boom. I was like, this guy is on my radar. 14% barrel rate. The strikeouts and the whips were up, but again, his plate discipline was pretty solid. 20% chase rate. If you're wondering, Isaac Collins is in that range too. So again, you're kind of having a comparison there. He had a 60% walk rate in AAA. So yeah, kind of wrapping that all together, he quickly became one of the premier slugging prospects in baseball. And he also showed improvements behind the dish. He was a pretty good framer. I know next year they're adding in the ABS system. So I'm not sure how.
All right, everyone, let's talk about drinking and driving, a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI because legal fees, time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Impactful framing is going to be. I still think it's going to be important because you can't challenge every call, especially when you run out of challenges. It's basically up to the umpire there. So I think he improved on his defense. He looked more refined behind the plate. Maybe still grades out below average there. But again, a catching prospect with his slugging potential, he wasn't struggling to hit the ball at all in the majors. He, again, only had 69 plate appearances, but they were excellent. He hit the furthest home run of any Royal this year. The quality of contact was exceptional. He didn't strike out much. Again, I think Carter Jensen is a clear-cut top 10 prospect. I know other outlets have ranked him really high. I know Baseball America, they haven't released their top 100 list yet, but they ranked him as the Royals' number one prospect. I think that is pretty clear-cut consensus throughout the industry. And they gave him a 55 grade, which is pretty good for them. So I think he's going to at least be in their top 20. I wouldn't be surprised if they push him top 15, top 10. Again, I think Jensen is. I think he is a favorite for AL Rookie of the Year. I saw Zips, Dan. I always struggle with the name. I think Zimbrowski at Fangraphs. His projection system has him as a 3-win player, which is excellent for a rookie. We don't usually see numbers like that from a rookie. His projections like that from a rookie. It does have him playing a fair bit as well. I think it was like a third most plate appearances on the team, which is pretty exciting. Especially again for a rookie and a catcher. So I think they're going to again just cycle through kind of Vinny, P, Perez, and Jensen. I think that's a pretty solid rotation there. And again, we've seen Perez struggled defensively quite a bit in recent years. But you can't play every game at catcher, so Jensen's definitely going to slot in there. I know Roster Resource has Jonathan India as their DH. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I thought India was gonna do something last year. I was pretty high on him, but
We all
did
did.
not have much of an impact. But I think it's now Jensen's role to kind of take over, and I'm excited to see what he does in spring training. I think the Royals. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know they're I think it's Surprise they play in spring that has Statcast data. So we're gonna get a lot of information about Carter Jensen this spring training, and hopefully get to see if his catching is improved. Hopefully it has. Young, premier slugging prospect. Again, I think he's a clear-cut top 10 guy. I can't really sing his praises anymore. It's like I'm really, really excited to see what he does next year.
Yeah, I do need to check on Jeremy real quick though, because his eyes became dinner plates, Thomas. I don't know if you saw that when you're talking about those projections for Jensen. Jeremy, are you okay over there?
Hi, Jacob. That was that was a lot. I got to catch my breath. Whew. Yeah, we've been over this a million times. We'll go over it one more time. We'll probably go over it several more times this offseason. I did not believe in Carter Jensen last offseason. I didn't believe in him during spring training. I said out loud multiple times, Carter Jensen's nobody. The Royals should trade him while people still think he's a prospect. I do not buy into Carter Jensen. I looked like an idiot when he came up to the big leagues in September. And I'm excited to see that, like, I obviously I changed my mind once I saw him play in September. I saw okay, yeah, the power is for real. Okay, this is all happening. And to see people like Thomas here and Zaborski and Baseball America and everybody say, yeah, no, this guy's for real. This isn't a mirage. We expect him to continue to progress. Maybe the line probably in September is not going to be like his career line or something, the slash line, but he's going to be good. He's going to be a good hitter. He's going to be a defensible catcher. That's a huge win for the Royals, getting that out of that farm system. Whenever you can get a reasonable quality starting player from your minor leagues, that's always a huge win, because you have so many guys in the minor leagues and so few of them turn into true quality major league players. And we went over this. Fangraphs last year put out that thing that I keep referencing, the analysis of all their future value rankings. And it's not until you get at least a 50 that you're as likely to become a starter as you are to completely flame out of the league, or to become just a backup that everybody thinks, well, maybe he'll be fine, but they don't want to keep him. And Carter Jensen got bumped up to a 50 future value on their system this offseason. We all remember also Ryan O'Hearn from 2018, when he had that terrific second half after he got called up and then turned into nothing for a while and then went to Baltimore and became okay again. But to have everyone go, oh, this looks repeatable, this looks legitimate, I'm so excited. I'm so stoked to have that to look forward to this year.
And there's just to be clear, because you could definitely say, oh, Carter Jensen's primed for some regression. Well, like, okay, even if he regresses back to where we expect him to be, he is still going to be a huge development success, I would say, for the Royals. I remember looking after the season was all done, he was up there with like Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani in some of his expected numbers. Like, he was one of the best bats after he made his debut. It was amazing. It was truly something to behold. And I think he's very worthy of this top 10 prospect listing from you, Thomas, because of his position, because of, there's not a whole lot of left-handed catchers of his profile doing it at the level that he is doing it at. And this is, I think, the continuity that he will bring to the Royals is very, very valuable. It's also why I think that he could very well be the most important bat that the Royals will develop since Bobby Witt Jr. I understand Jack Caglianone has a higher ceiling. I understand that he has more talent at the plate, but getting that continuity, growing that within your own farm system, and seeing how Jensen has grown over the years, I think gives him that viewing in my eyes.
I just want to real quick say, like, when we're talking about regression from Carter Jensen, his OPS last September was 941. If he regressed to 800, which would be a pretty big drop, he would still be he would be an above average hitter as a catcher, which is hard to find. So that's what we're talking about is even when you factor in like a bad regression, he's primed to be a very valuable player. But you just mentioned Jack Caglianone, Jacob, and so it's my turn to put Thomas on the spot and ask, is Jack, is he broken? Is he never going to be any good after his awful 2025 rookie campaign? Or do you think that there's a chance that he still finds that ceiling that we were all dreaming about when he got called up in June?
Oh, I didn't prepare for this, but but yeah, Jack Caglianone, I think he definitely still there's a ton of upside in that bat. Again, one of the fastest bats in the league. He was just demolishing the minor leagues as well. Kind of forced their hand last year to call him up just as how good he was doing, just smashing everything. Last year was rough. He was one of the least valuable players in the league. But he definitely got unlucky. Like he had a 318 xWOBA, but that is around league average. But he had a 239 WOBA, that's not, it typically doesn't happen. I guess it does matter when you hit so many ground balls. That's definitely kind of the big knock on Caglianone, kind of the flatter bat path there, and a very long swing. So I think it's just sometimes he's just having struggle catching up to bats, catching up to major league pitching. But again, the quality of contact is still good whenever he does hit the ball. He didn't struggle too much with making contact, which is encouraging to see. And the chase rates weren't terrible. Again, not really a great way to phrase it there, but that was kind of the biggest knock against him, was that he just chases at everything, and we kind of saw that as kind of a bigger issue. Kind of why he struggled last year. He still was able to walk at a respectable 8%, but the trigger rate weren't terrible. When he did make contact and put it in the air, it was loud. But yeah, I think Royals fans have a lot to be excited about for Caglianone. It was definitely a very underwhelming rookie campaign, but projections, they have him at around a 110 WRC plus, which is pretty surprising given how poor he was last season. But again, that's baking in kind of his minor league success, the batted ball quality we're seeing. So I do think Caglianone, if they can, again, if he can spark something there, even be a league average bat, it'd be a huge win for the Royals, especially next year. Again, it's just a second year, age 23 season, would be one of their best outfield bats, something they desperately need. Again, we've already discussed Collins being a pretty pivotal addition to that outfield out there. So again, Caglianone, it's easy to see why Royals fans are kind of sour on him, especially after last year. But again, I think there's a lot of positive signs for his kind of development. One big concern would be, is he going to be a defender? How is he going to perform in the outfield? He did not look great out there. Is he going to be the long-term DH? That might throw a wrench into things with Carter Jensen, Vinny, Salvial there. Caglianone has a cannon of an arm, so maybe they can just hide him in a corner outfield spot, and then his arm will just throw guys out from
Maybe
right
so.
field. That could be an option there too. But again, I think Caglianone has a lot of upside. Again, 6th overall pick, 2024. You don't expect any kind of draftee to be debuting the next year. Like I think the last few years we've been spoiled really. Like Nick Kurtz, Caglianone, another one. Like Bazana, if he didn't get injured, he might have also debuted. Weatherhold was going there, was on track as well. The Cardinals just didn't really need him. Kind of pushed him to 2026. But yeah, Caglianone, there is a reason why he got drafted 6th overall. And we've seen kind of what he could do in the minors. Again, it's a different beast. Kind of the gap between AAA and the major league is as big as it's ever been. Pitching is just, hitting a baseball is so hard.
Yeah, it is.
But Caglianone can hit the ball harder than anyone else. So that's something you want to dream on. And he doesn't have the strikeout concerns as you would see kind of a guy like O'Neal Cruz has. Again, we see two players that struggle with that high-end power, and he's struggling kind of different facets there.
Yeah.
But again, I like Caglianone. I'm not sure how big of a factor he'll be in 2026, but projections also are pretty bullish on him. So again,
Okay.
above average bat and would be a very great addition to a Royals lineup that again I think is one of the stronger ones in the AL Central.
Excellent.
Just to add on to that, you talked about the chase rate. I listened to that Rates and Barrels podcast, Jacob, that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And they were talking, I can't remember if it was Eno or his podcast co-host, or maybe even Jed Lowry, were talking about how, yeah, he chases, but the way that his arms are and the way that the strike zone is to him, like they don't think, and I think they all three agreed, was that they don't think you need to tell him to stop chasing. You just tell him, yeah, you're going to chase. Just make sure that the ones you chase are the ones you can still hit, because you can hit them even with the way that he's built. He can hit the balls that he chases, quote unquote, still pretty hard. And I also want to throw out there, I just checked the Zips projections for Caglianone, and of course we'll have Dan Zimborski on later to go over these more. But Caglianone, his projection is for a 112 OPS plus. His 80th percentile projection is 134. Interestingly to me, his 20th percentile projection would be for an 89 WRC OPS plus, which is below average, but like that's like almost the worst case scenario is 10% below average, which would be a massive upgrade over what the Royals got out of right field last year and over what he did last year.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It's almost like the projection systems all look at Jack Caglianone and go, I don't know what that was. That won't happen again.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, at least. And Jeremy, to your point, if folks don't believe in the fact that Jack Caglianone can hit a lot of pitches that are well outside the strike zone and do damage on him, just go look at where the pitch was for his first home run. I mean, we saw that clip. I've seen it on Twitter and things like that. I am blanking on what that podcast is called. It's an MLB podcast, and they sat down and talked with him about swinging at that pitch and like how it was not the pitch to swing at, but it had the result he wanted. So that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Thank you for that, Thomas, for breaking that down. Is there really any other Royal stuff that you think that us fans are looking over, or we should be paying a little bit more attention to?
Yeah, I have a few things I wrote down here. Chris Bubic, I'm excited for his return. He looked really, really good last year. He was one of my favorite pitchers to watch.
Didn't you?
Yeah, he was my breakout pick for the Royals in 2025. I count that as a win, even though their true breakout was Garcia. I guess you can have multiple breakouts, so no issue there. But yeah, Bubic, fastball is excellent. I really, really like how that performed. His slider took a really big step. Again, it's a true kind of 5-pitch mix. Lefty, again, they kind of got a win with Raggins, and then Bubic, and then I guess Noah Cameron was another big win for them last year. One thing I'm not too excited about Noah Cameron, I guess projections also don't like him. It was a 4.18 FIP. Doesn't really agree with his, I think it was sub-3 ERA. Again, a fantastic rookie year. I was actually pretty excited about Noah Cameron. I wrote about him, I think, in the offseason before, thinking he was more of an underrated pitching prospect. Again, Royals, they like the lefties. If they had success with their lefties, Cameron has a pretty good changeup as well. Like that's kind of what you want to see there. We kind of Parker Misick. Royals fans might be familiar with him from Cleveland. I would say they're kind of similar vibes there. I think Misick probably has a stronger changeup. Cameron, again, both slower throwing lefties. Cameron, the fastball, I just don't really buy it. The characteristics aren't very strong. So again, I think him being a number 5 starter is all right. I don't think Royals fans should really expect much more than that. Again, it's definitely going to be more upsetting to hear that. But again, projection systems agree he's more kind of a low 4 ERA guy. Maybe next season he comes in, guns blazing, starts throwing harder, new pitch or whatnot. But Cameron, I think he's a perfectly viable number 5 starter. And if he can perform like that, I think the Royals are in a pretty good position with their rotation. Again, I also wrote they needed an outfield. This was before the trade, so that's a pretty apt timing for that too. Jonathan India is I'm gonna be a little interested to see how he does next year, because again, last year was just so much worse than previous years. He stopped walking. His OBP plummeted. His defense was terrible. Like it was like I thought he was going to be fine at second base. The Royals don't really have that strong, I guess, up a second baseman there. Even when he went to the outfield, it was bad. Like I don't know what happened there. I really don't know what happened with Jonathan India. Hopefully it's better. Again, they retain him for next year. My biggest hope is that he doesn't block Carter Jensen in any capacity. I've already kind of said
Yeah.
my said my word about Jensen. But if he can again find at least be a league average bat, basically what he's done throughout his career, projections kind of lining up for that as well, and not being arguably the worst defender in the league, it should be again another plus. Just again regression, just to add on to the Royals kind of lackluster 2025 year. And then another thing I want to point out is the prospect pipeline. It's not too interesting. It's definitely one of the more shallower ones. Jensen, again, crown jewel there. You have two really exciting pitching prospects, though. Shields and Churio. They're in low A right now. Maybe they'll start the year in high A. They were really, really good. They were considered in my top 100 prospect list. I think they've already been. Maybe they're going to be in Baseball Americas. I know they ranked Shields and Churio both over Blake Mitchell. I'd also kind of lay them out like that too. Mitchell, I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. He seems more of like an expendable piece. Maybe they trade him away. I know the Red Sox wouldn't mind having another catcher there. Maybe he's kind of in a trade that way there. One name that I was kind of more of a funky name, AJ Cossi. He's a soft tossing side armor with a pretty good changeup. Very, very slow. Like if you think of Craig Yohu from the Brewers, really, really weird pick shapes or it's just extremely wide east to west profile there. He'll be fun. He's not on the 40-man roster, but he should be in AAA. I got some data from the Arizona Fall League. He had really, really good strikeout rates. Again, throwing 90 miles an hour, and he's still striking out the world. It's really, really fun to see.
Yeah.
And two names I like from the 2025 draft, both pitchers. One is Michael Lombardi. There was a second-round pick, and then Bryson Dudley was the seventh-round pick. They're both relievers in college. I can see Lombardi being more of a starter, I guess, in the future. I think that was kind of the goal when they drafted him in the second round. And then Dudley, he made his debut. Only a few. I think he made maybe 10 appearances or so, but he looked really, really solid in those. They both have kind of standout fastballs. Both really, really strong strikeout numbers. Again, both in college and in Dudley's kind of short time frame. I think it was in high A. But those are two names that I'm interested to see what they do. In 2026 and their kind of the full season pro debuts there. But other than that, not too much going on with the Royals system there, but at least you do have some more exciting guys. In Jensen, I think again, consensus top 20 guy. If he isn't on all the lists, at least that high, I'm gonna question it. I think he's kind of shown that he kind of deserves to be there with again his major league success that plays a bit of into it as well. And then Shields and Churio, that's kind of the next wave of pitching prospects. Already, I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them or even both show up on top 100 prospect list by the time February or March turns around when again, all those outlets update their list.
Made that transition to the rotation, had good initial results, but was a little mixed in 2025 thanks to injuries and such. But I think that the Royals have a type and they like investing in that type. So we'll see what happens with Lombardi, especially. Jeremy, anything else before we move on to reviews?
One thing that I wanted to bring up about Collins was that he credits Connor Dawson with a lot of his success in Milwaukee. And if Connor Dawson sounds familiar, that's because the Royals added him as a hitting coach, took him away from the Brewers, made him a Royals hitting coach. So I'm sure he was consulted as part of bringing him over, thinks that whatever they were working on to get things done in
All right, everyone, let's talk about drinking and driving, a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI because legal fees, time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world. Whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Milwaukee can continue to work, so I'm very excited. I continue to be probably a little more bullish than most people on Collins. I think he could, I question his long-term outlook as he's already 28 years old, but he hit better than Duran last year. So, he has some regression, but he should still be a perfectly good Royal regression potential. But he should still be gosh, the word escaped me. He should be a thing that the Royals fans haven't seen in a while, which is at least a league average bat for a couple of years. And by then, maybe the farm system starts giving us something to be excited about.
That certainly would be nice. It's weird to look at the Royals top 30 list from MLB Pipeline, and there's only 3 outfielders listed, period. And that is, Sean Gamble is a long ways away from the show, and Gavin Cross has already kind of been a disappointment as a former first-round pick. This is a system that sorely needs outfielders in the pipeline, but also needs them at the major league level. All right, guys, a lot of great Royals discourse. I think it's time we got to move on to some Royals reviews. And Thomas, since you are our guest, would you mind kicking us off?
Yeah, one thing, I guess I'm a big fan of board games. So one game that I kind of grew up playing with my siblings, I have 3 siblings, was Seven Wonders. I think it's a more popular game. I think it's maybe more well known than some other obscure board games that I would play. But recently, my brother found kind of an online website that you could play the game. So me, my brothers, and my sister, with a few of the friends, would just play the game, and we just spend a few hours once a week or whatnot, and just go and play the board games. I really, really love them. Again, strategy involved. And it's just a nice break. Sometimes I find myself kind of locked into TJStats and writing or coding or whatnot. And again, it's fun to always just kind of break out of that trance, have something else to do. I'm also kind of really big into video games as well. I got a Nintendo Switch 2 kind of right when it came out. I poured a lot of hours into Mario Kart already, and I'm enough to think that I can maybe start just like streaming for fun, but I think I'm gonna focus more on baseball. I think I think more. I think that's more
It's almost that time.
impactful. Yeah, but but yeah, and board games, video games. I'm a huge fan of either. Again, I on my Twitter bio, I'm a huge Pokemon nerd. I've had people reach out to me about that there as well. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a baseball nerd. I'm a video game nerd. I'm a board game nerd. Whatever. I love nerdy stuff.
Yeah. As do we. So you're in the right spot there. Jeremy, I just got a quick one. So if you don't mind me jumping in real quick. Finished reading a book while I was on duty yesterday, and this was one that I found through the Sabre library. And Sabre is a very important organization, I will say. Something that I was not expecting was that right now it seems like they're much more historically leading, right? Like I thought it was going to be more forward leading, sabermetrics and all that jazz, but a lot of history there as well. So I found this book called Chasing Moonlight, the true story of Field of Dreams' Doc Graham. It's very, we all, if we've seen Field of Dreams, the story of Doc Graham. And I was not expecting too much from this book. It was a very enjoyable walk through his life and just the atmosphere that was baseball at this time. Like that was such a complicated environment. And I'm going to butcher this author's last name, so I apologize. The author is Brett Friedlander, and I highly suggest you go check it out. It's from 2009, so you might find a used copy somewhere. I doubt you'll find it at the library, honestly, but this is very, very much worth a read, I would say.
Check out
Jeremy,
the library, Jacob. The library has things.
The library does have things.
Don't diminish the power of libraries.
I'm just saying my library here in
Well,
Virginia.
your library sucks, Jacob. Fix it.
It just doesn't have a lot of baseball stuff, and it sucks sometimes. All right, Jeremy,
We're
over
requesting
to you.
some. But don't forget, libraries all frequently have relationships with other libraries. They can, if you put in a request, they can do trades and stuff.
That's true.
So remember, libraries are there to help you read books. And if they don't have it, they'll do whatever they can to help you get it. So just remember that. My review early, I think that's the middle of last week, the new Knives Out mystery, Wake Up Dead Man, came out. And I watched that Friday night. And hey, did you like the first two Knives Out mysteries? Probably going to like this one. And of course I did. I do think it is the weakest of the Knives Out movies so far, but it was still enjoyable. And of course, Daniel Craig, who I don't really care for in any role I've ever seen him in other than as the detective whose name has escaped me suddenly in the Knives Out mysteries. I love him in that role, and all the other actors really gave fun performances, except for Jeremy Renner, who I cannot stand. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, if you liked the first two Knives Out movies, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. So give it a watch.
I like that. Yeah, this is just a classic whodunit.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's a genre that had a lot of staying power for a long time and then kind of disappeared. And I really appreciate Rian Johnson bringing it back with the Knives Out movies and with Poker Face, even though Poker Face has been canceled.
Yeah.
But it did give us 2 seasons of whodunit mysteries that felt a lot like Columbo. So, whatever Rian Johnson does, I will always be appreciative that he brought back a little bit of that whodunit mystery.
Yeah, because I was watching Clue over and over again for too long. Okay,
Which is a great movie.
It's a great movie. Great movie.
Yeah, how many times can you watch the same movie?
Yeah, not too many times. I don't know about you, Thomas. How many times do you think is too many times to watch a movie?
Depends. My favorite movie is The Grand Budapest Hotel. I can probably watch that pretty frequently. Like I've watched it maybe 8, 9 times or something like that. I really, really enjoy it. And I guess there's definitely some movies that have more staying power. Again, like with Christmas movies like Home Alone and Elf, you could probably watch those once a year. Those don't go out of style. Those are always kind of funny to watch. But yeah, if I had to keep watching the same movie over and over again, probably after like the 3rd or 4th time, like this, I know what's happening. Especially like a murder mystery. I feel like there's you're not really you have to think. You know what's happening. You know what's going on.
Exactly. It loses that allure. All right, folks. Well, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here with today's episode. Thomas Nestico, everyone. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It was a great conversation. Folks, if you want to see more of his tools, I'm going to link them all down in the podcast description below. The website, social media, and the Substack. Highly suggest you go check out that Substack for the reason that Jeremy talked about. It's pinned up there right on the front page with Chris Bubich as the example picture. So it'll catch your eye immediately if you're a Royals fan. And then also, if you need some more Royals specific stuff, you know where to go, royalsreview.com for everything that you need there. But once again, I'm Jacob Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, go Royals.
I once watched Pirates of the Caribbean 5 times in a row.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening. Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy Holiday.